Have you ever wondered who found the Mississippi? Or what about the Great Lakes? Maybe Lewis and Clark, or maybe Columbus. If you guessed either of those, you are wrong. The correct answer is LaSalle. I was born on November 21st, 1643. I was the second son of a wealthy merchant who, for a job, traded. When I was younger, I was interested in math and science. Then, when I got older, I became educated at a Jesuit college. But I eventually lost interest in the Christian studies. So that was when I started exploring in 1666. In 1666 was my first expedition. I left France with 4 ships. The Jolly, a French warship, Belle, my gunship, Sir Francis, which had the animals, merchandise, and ammunition, and the Amiable, my colony supply ship. That was when I started to explore in the dangerous wilderness of Canada in 1669, 3 years later. Over the next 4 years, I explored the areas near the Mississippi. I also explored the lands near the Ohio River and Lake Ontario. In 1673, I built a fort called Fort Catacory, which was later renamed as Fort Frontenac. In 1674, I returned to ask the King of France, King Louis XIV, for support in the land I had claimed and for Fort Frontenac. I received help and got a trade allowance, a title of nobility, and got permission to establish additional forts on the frontier. Then, in 1675, I went back and rebuilt Fort Frontenac in stone. 2 years later, I returned to France to ask King Louis XIV if I could lead an expedition to try and find an outlet to the sea from the Mississippi. I returned to Fort Frontenac. When I was 36 when I went on a journey from Fort Frontenac to Montreal. When I arrived, I picked up supplies and brought them back to the fort. 2 years after my dangerous trip to Montreal, on February 13th, I launched a fleet down the Mississippi. That same year, on April 9th, I claimed the Mississippi and other land for France. I called it Louisiana after King Louis XIV. Then I returned to the court of King Louis XIV, a hero. I started to sail to the New World in 1684. I hoped that I would be able to establish a French stronghold along the lower parts of the Mississippi. I also wanted to challenge Spanish rule over Mexico. Then, for months on the Texas coast, Indians took our things and fired arrows at us. To make matters worse, disease broke out. Many of my men got sick. So finally, in the month of January of 1687, I decided to leave the fort with my strongest men and went to find a quick route to Canada.
On March 18, 1647.